Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to push your local domain WordPress website up onto an actual domain make it a live website as requested by a couple of you guys in the comments, so thank you for that. This video will be a good closure video for this series. So some prerequisites: you're going to need to have a hosting provider that's going to have, you're also going to have a domain name, of course. So you can buy domain names I actually buy all my domains at Google Domains. It's like 12 or 13 bucks a year, and you get free privacy, which is why I use them. So you're going to buy your domain somewhere, and you're going to point your name servers over to your hosting provider. Now, for hosting providers, the easiest way to get one is to use something like HostGator. It's a good shared host provider. It's like $8 a month, and you can have as many domains on it as you want. So that's my primary shared one, and I'll put my affiliate link down below. So if you guys want to get a hosting provider, and helps me out, helps you out, it's a win-win. So once you have your hosting provider, you need access to what's called your file manager. So you can go to the screen here. You can see I'm in my HostGator control panel. You'll need to have access to this file manager right here. Alright, so if you're going to be bringing a domain onto this hosting provider, and you already have a hosting provider and it's not your primary domain for this hosting provider, you're going to need to do an add-on domain. Alrighty. And so you're going to put the name of your new domain in here. This is a previous domain I put on here. So you're going to put your domain in here. You're going to put the subdomain, which is going to be basically your domain as part of your hosting provider primary domain. So primary domain for this website is actually called KG website. So the subdomain would be, new client website dot whatever, and you put the new client website domain here, and the document root. So this can be pretty much wherever you want to put it. I would suggest putting it in its own file like this. A lot of people put their domains inside of their public HTML. I don't recommend doing this because then it becomes actually a part of your primary domain that's on this account. I recommend just sticking it in the root like that. That way it has its own separate folder. Okay. Then you're going to click Add Domain. I don't actually have this domain. I'm going to create a subdomain for this example, but it works exactly the same. So if I go to subdomains, my internet is being really slow right now. Okay, so let's do new client. What do we name it? Oh no, we'll just call it client website. Okay, and so it's going to be clientwebsite.kgwebsites.com. I'll create that. Now I should note that there are plenty of ways to actually move your website from your local computer to your hosting provider and make it live. I'm going to show you the easiest way, which is using a plugin. I'll put all the links to all the plugins and all the prerequisites you have down below. But if for some reason you can't use this plugin, and there are many reasons, there are many times I wasn't able to use it simply because of server restrictions or hosting restrictions. Some host providers don't allow you to upload a massive file, and if you've created a massive website on your local computer, when you use this plugin it generates a massive file, and sometimes your hosting provider can have trouble uploading a big file like that. So in that case, this option would not be for you. You will have to do a manual transfer of all of your files over and then do a database migration, which is a whole nother video. But for now, I'm going to show you how to use a WordPress plugin to easily get your website over to a live domain. Okay, so I have this subdomain. It's been added to my account. What I need to do now is go to the actual website. And we're going to go into the admin, and we're going to get a plugin. And to be totally honest, I forgot the name of the plugin, so we're just going to have to find it. Add new plugin. Let's try. Shoot, what is it called? WordPress. No, it's called Transfer. That's it. Here it is. Duplicator. WordPress migration plugin. 1 million active installs. Very popular plugin. Alright, and we're going to activate the plugin. Okay, here it is. So just go to manage. Alright, no packages found. So first thing we have to do is create the backup. So we're going to say create new. Just going to give it a name. Storage options. Default local. Yeah, this is where all the default settings should be fine. I'm just kind of looking over everything. Unless you did something fancy with your website, the default example should be fine. This right here, the installer, this is going to be for where your new website is going to be hosted at. So you can actually put, as it says right here, you can have these fields filled in when you do the actual install. So I'm going to do that. Sometimes you have to fill this out because your new hosting provider, for whatever reason, won't grant you access to your MySQL server. So it's best you put these values in before. But I'm just going to do it on the install. So I'm going to hit next. It's going to scan the site. And since it's a very small site, very basic site, it's going to take a second. And build it out. Everything looks good. A lot of times it'll say there's large files in there, usually because when I upload some images as background files or background images, those will show up as large files, which is fine. It just takes a little longer. And if you do have uploading problems with uploading the file to your new server, you may be able to resolve that by putting in smaller image files, compressing them. Anyways, okay, so package completed. We're going to download both of these things. So click the installer. And we're going to go ahead and download this in our folder. So go back to MAMP in your applications, htdocs, client website. And we're going to put it right in there. Same thing with the archive. You need both of them. So the archive is the actual website. This is pretty much all your database and all your pages and all your posts and everything combined into one file. That's why it's 10.37 megabytes, but obviously that can be a lot bigger. And then the installer just actually installs it. Okay, so now that we have those two things installed, we're going to go over to our file manager. Or if you have FTP access, you can use it that way, but I'm not going to go into that for the purpose of this video. So once you're in your file manager or your FTP, you're going to go into where that website is stored. So in this case, it's going to be right in this folder. So now we're going to upload those two files we just downloaded. I can actually just drag them here. I'm going to go right into the root. Yeah, see, so maximum size allowed for upload in the file manager is 500 megabytes. As you can see, the archive file is 10.5 megabytes, which is fine, but if you have it doesn't even really have to be that big to be 500 megabytes, but you won't be able to use this file manager to do it that way. You'll either have to do FTP, or if your FTP doesn't allow it, then you'll have to find out a different way, either doing a manual transfer over, or figuring out some other kind of plugin or something. Okay, so we're just going to wait for this. It's almost done. Once this uploads, we're going to go to the website /installer.php. So we're going to access the installer file we just uploaded. It's almost done. Okay, so that's done. So we're going to go to our new website, installer.php. Oh, it needs to be capital. Okay. Alright, so if you have trouble getting to this installer file like I just did, you may have to wait a minute to give your hosting provider a minute to propagate all the DNS changes, so the hosting provider knows where to point the domain and all the DNS records. So just give it a minute and then it should propagate. So you're going to go to the name of your website, .com or .org or wherever, /installer with a lowercase I, .php. Okay, so now step 1 of 4 is deployment. So archive, let's see here. So this is pretty much what's in your current archive file. It says files there, the format's good, validation, everything passes. Okay, if you're trying to transfer an older website, you may notice that some of these might not pass simply because the version's too old or outdated, and so it doesn't have all of these things. But this one should pass if you're following this tutorial. Options, not really worried about this unless you're having trouble with this. You may want to debug it and see what's going on, but we'll just do light for now. Notices, yes, you have to legally read all this information, as everyone does, and accept all terms. Next. Alright, so now it has to install the database. So we have to say the host is going to be the local host by default, and any website, you're going to leave that there. So database, new or existing database names. Now, I've had trouble before putting in a new database name, and if you have that issue, as I'm 50% sure we're going to have right now, then you need to go into your cPanel and create the database first before doing this step. But let's just see if this works here. So we'll say client website is going to be the database name, valid database username. Okay, so this is where you have to go. Yeah. Okay, so you have to go into your cPanel and go into your MySQL databases. Okay, so for HostGator, that's okay. I'm starting to remember now. For HostGator, you do need to create your database first before you install the database. So this plugin will not install a new database simply because HostGator requires the username and password, the user, to be assigned to a database in order to have access to it. So what that just means is we have to create the database first in our cPanel. So if we go back to our MySQL databases, and we'll create a new database, website, create the database, and it's important to always include the first part of it. At least in HostGator, it prepends the database with your root username for your account. So the database is there. I'm going to copy that, put it into here, and now we got to create a user to have access to this database. We're going to go back, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to add a new user. You can use any username you want. You can even add any current users you have to the database. I recommend always creating a new user for every database you have for security issues, because if someone gets a hold of this username and password, suddenly they have access to all of your databases that you've ever created instead of just the singular one. So for security issues, always add a new user. So we'll just say client website, and I usually just type in as far as I can because there is a restriction on the number of characters here. So we'll just say client web. We're going to put in a password. It's probably recommended for security purposes you do a password generator as well and store this password somewhere safe. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to do a basic password in here. So you're going to create the user. Passwords don't match because I can't type. Okay. Create user. So it pre-filled my username for whatever reason. Yeah, I pre-filled it like that, which is not what I wanted to do. I missed it. So client website, client web. So the password. Okay. Create user. Okay. Now that you've created the user, you need to assign the user all permissions to that database. So if we scroll back down, we say underneath add new users is add user to database. So we're going to select the user we just created, and we're going to select the database right here, add, and we're going to give it all privileges. Okay, so now I have all privileges under this username. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the username and put it in here. And I'm going to have to block this out because I know it's going to show. Okay, and in options, you can leave the options as it shows. It should be fine. So click test database, success. We'll hit next. If it doesn't show up as success, change the option to debug as I showed you before. It might give you some hints as to what is wrong. Alright, so now step 3 is to update the data. So what this does is in the WordPress settings for on your local computer, you have the URL set to the local host. That way WordPress knows where to point the website to. So we have to update that to the actual URL of our new website and the path. So this stuff should be automatically filled in for you. If not, the path is where in your file manager the website is going to be stored. So you can even put the website into clientwebsites.kgwebsites.com/blog or whatever it may be. That's how you would do that. You're going to put the path of where you want the website to be stored. And the title, it pulls the title from the current local. This should be fine. However, you can change it if you want. Options, you can create a new admin account. Currently, it's going to pull over the admin account from here, from their local. So if you put an unsecure username and password, since it's just on your local host, you may want to change that here. Yeah, so I'm not going to do that here just because I have to block it out. So scan options, that's all fine and dandy. Okay, activate plugins. Okay, config file, SSL, enforce on admin, enforce on login. So if you have a HTTPS certificate, you may want to enforce this on admin and login, but not something I'm going to worry about now. So click next. Alright, and final steps, just going to log in. And let's see if I can remember this. And it's going to be the same admin username and password as was on your local host. Like I said, you may want to change that if it's not a very secure login. Okay, so now once you have installed everything, the WordPress or the site should work fine now. Double check that it is. view the website, and it looks exactly the same. Perfect. Now what we have to do is remove the installation files. So that 10 megabyte backup archive file we're going to remove, and successfully removed. And now we're going to clear the build cache. Just get rid of extra space on your server. Okay, so now that that's removed, you can actually remove the plugin, deactivate it, and then delete it. Alright, and that is how you successfully transfer over your website from your local host to your new domain. If you have any questions, please let me know. Like I said, this doesn't always work for every site. A lot of times if you have a really big site, your file manager, first of all, won't work, so you have to go to FTP. That's another tutorial for another day, but it's pretty simple to figure it out. And if your FTP won't upload it because it's so big, usually that happens on sites that have been been running for a few years and been updated for a few years, and you want to move it over to a new domain. In that case, this method is not going to work for you. What you're going to need to do is manually copy and paste all of your files from one server or your local host onto your new server, which will take a good amount of time. And then you're going to need to export your current database in your local host, and then you're going to need to import it into your new database on your new website. And then you're going to need to change the config file in your database to match up to your new website details. If anyone has those issues, if anyone wants me to go into how to do that, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me comments, share this video, give me likes, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.